The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in the podcast belong solely to the hosts and not the host's past, present, or future employers. Hello, everybody. This is Brian for Breaking Down Security. This is part 2 of our discussion with Marcello Salvati, Byte Bleeder on Twitter. He's an open source developer, and he created CrackMap Exec. And his idea is to find ways that larger organizations and companies would be incentivized to help support similar open source developers like himself. We talked a little bit about last week why this is and what the idea of open source is. This week we talk and touch on his ideas on how to incentivize these things. So we ended with a cliffhanger question: why would a company pay for software that is about to be given away for free? And you'll hear his answer here very shortly. Firstly, and lastly, actually, I want to thank Robert I. for his generous donation on PayPal to our podcast, and we appreciate all his support and hope he finds value in the interview he's about to hear. Have a great week.
So one of the reasons why I did that is to sort of set a precedence. And just to be clear, like a lot of what I'm doing here is legitimately an experiment. Like I have no clue if it's going to work or not. But what I'm trying to do is just try to find a system where companies are incentivized to sponsor individual open source authors, right? And encourage more collaboration in general to these tools that are apparently widely used, right? So the exclusivity thing, that sort of came about when I first announced that I was going to start doing this sponsorware model on Twitter, and Offensive Security contacted me, and we started thinking about, okay, so like how can we sort of make this where we can maybe like introduce some sort of changes in the way this is working, right? Because it really is, this isn't sustainable. Like if you think, I don't even know where to begin with this. Like, yeah, like besides from just the enormous amount of mental and health issues that come with just working basically two jobs, because you have your day job and then you have your open source projects, and especially if it's somewhat popular, it's a lot of work. It is an insane amount of work.
Right.
But we were talking about like how can we sort of start thinking about ways to incentivize this stuff. And we came up with a thing where it's like, okay, what happens if like we give you some money, right? And then in return, you make a certain project's updates exclusive to our distribution for like 30-day period. And the best thing about this is that everybody wins, because as an open source tool author, I win because I get some money, right? As the person sponsoring me, they win because they have like some exclusivity, which can drive like more people to their platform or whatever it is. And the community wins because they will get the updates just, after 30 days. That's all. I mean, it's not like they're just exclusive forever to Kali Linux. You'll totally get the updates, only with like a 30-day lag, basically. So it's sort of, again, like sort of trying to figure out ways where we can sort of make things better. Having said that, there are a few problems with this. One is that, and I found this out pretty quickly and I didn't really think about, which is pretty dumb of me not to think about this, but is what happens if like all of the tools start doing this, and like all of the tools now have exclusivities to specific distros. Like one has exclusivity to like Parrot Security, one has exclusivity to Kali Linux and all that stuff. That's an issue. Although I would argue that everyone will get the updates just with a 30-day lag, right? With it, so at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. And there are probably a lot of other issues that I still have to run into. So it's just about finding ways to make this entire system sustainable, as opposed to just companies and people leeching off of these projects without giving anything back and helping the actual authors.
Okay.
Yeah, and a 30-day lag is nothing.
Yeah,
To
I
these
mean,
big companies, that's
I,
nothing.
I don't think it's that big of an issue.
And it
Yeah,
helps keep things going, right? It gives you an incentive to, as a developer, to keep up the project, right?
correct.
I remember, who was it? Node.js. The guy was like, "I'm out,"
Yeah.
and then like the internet crashed, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Shortly
exactly.
thereafter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
So
that
sorry, go ahead.
that leads me back to another question. It's like, so the company is going to give you $10,000 to get 30 days exclusivity
I
to
wish it was $10,000.
Okay, so how much are we talking for 30 days of
Okay,
exclusivity?
so it's actually publicly available. So there's a tier list. If you go to my sponsors page, there's a tier list. What I'm what I'm talking about is the partnership tier, which is around $600 a month.
A
Which,
month.
yeah, a month.
So every 30 days, every month they get
Well,
so
600,
much.
yeah, $600. Correct. Yeah, correct. So every 30 days, I as the author get $600. In return, I give them these updates, which are exclusive to their distribution for 30 days, right?
Okay.
Which I think is pretty affordable for a large company of uh, any decent size. And this way, I win. Again, the community wins. And again, it's just about finding that model that makes this thing sustainable as opposed to just people using the stuff and not contributing back.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm surprised it took so long.
Yeah, so the thing is, this has been a while. This has been happening. This entire debate has been happening for years in the open source space, right? This is nothing new. And the problem comes down to personal. It's basically personal preference. Some people think that there shouldn't be any money in open source whatsoever. Like you should just release it, and you're not supposed to get any money. Period. Some people think the opposite. Some people are a little bit in between. My personal stance on this is after doing 10 years of this, it starts becoming quite clear that like a lot of people have a hard time sort of accepting this, like especially like the people who made a lot of popular projects. They're happy, like don't get me wrong, like they're happy to help the infosec community in general, but the problem starts becoming, okay, now I have to work basically two times as much to maintain this stuff, and I'm really not getting any help back in terms of actually maintaining it. And you start feeling burned after a while. You start feeling mentally burnt out, and you have nothing to show for it. You really have very little to show for it. Like I really can't, pay my, I don't know, bills with some, with stuff like this, right? So,
and I mean, sure, if it's a tool that you're using every day and, it's something that you want to keep on top of for your own,
correct.
Just for your own use. But, those other projects that kind of you did use at one point in time, but now you're just stuck maintaining it.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of the approaches that the open source community has taken to sort of fix this, there have been a lot, and some of them have worked. Like there's a bunch of them, but the thing is, none of them are really tailored towards the infosec hacking community. And just because of the nature of our community, where we're all a little bit paranoid, we all really don't want to be on social media and a lot. It makes things a little bit harder to actually like get sponsorships out of it, because it comes down to also like the personality of the author, which in the hacking community, infosec community, there's a wide range of personalities. And like I said, like not a lot of people have social media in this community. Not a lot of people want to deal with any sort of social media marketing or anything like that. So this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just help get the word out there, and at the same time, I guess, incentivize collaboration.
So I don't want to say I'm a black cloud here, but I'm just trying to threat model this out. You have a tool called Crack Map Exec.
Yes.
Microsoft's blue team uses it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, blue team tech level 1, nobody. I hate to say nobody, but he's at the bottom rung, or she's at the bottom rung.
Yeah.
This is a really great tool, and I want to support it. Now, blue team level blue team level 1 person now has to sell to his boss and to his boss's boss and to God knows who else that, hey, we should support you, and they say no.
Yeah, I mean that's. So
I mean, unless you've got a CISO or somebody who actually understands what your tool is about, you're not going to get any money.
Well, it's correct, but it also comes down to the proper incentive, because like if the low level tier person, if he sends a link, for example, to the sponsorship page, right, and the CISO starts seeing, hey, like we can get our logo in the README, right? We can get priority support on some of these tools. Or anything really that I haven't thought about yet that could possibly incentivize something like that from like a marketing perspective. It's in their own best interest. Like they can get some pretty decent marketing out of this, considering, again, like a lot of these projects that are super popular get a pretty insane amount of views on GitHub. I've had one company contact me. I didn't even know this is a thing, but there's this one company out there that's essentially trying to monetize this by putting ads in GitHub READMEs, which is extremely cancerous. I personally don't think that's a good idea. But like to give you an idea of how many views these some of these projects get, like it's meaningful. So there's that. There's also the fact that like if you work with the company and they give you a voucher for their training, for example, that can also encourage, you know, some more goodwill, and, you know, more marketing towards the company. So it's all about like the incentives more than the tool itself, I think, from a high level executive perspective, right? At least.
That sounds great. What keeps you from just, you know, saying, I quit this bitch? You know, like the guy who did NanoBlocker or whatever. You know, I can't support this anymore. I'm just going to sell this to a Turkish company for a couple $100,000, whatever, and leave 300,000 people on the hook. So you know, I mean, you're already saying this is your second job, so maybe it's not as important as the first job, or maybe you get a job as a director and can't no longer keep it up. What's the deprecation like for a paid product?
Well, okay, so this is the thing, right? I had a lot of opportunities for me to do that over the past like 10 years at this point, and I've thought about it numerous times. In terms of like, so you're saying like now that there is actually money involved? Is that what you're getting at?
Right. Money complicates things. Money means you're on the hook for something.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, so the thing is, again, like a lot of this stuff I'm still figuring out. I'm not sure, to be honest. Like if someone else that isn't me, I'm not going to be doing that anytime soon, unless I have a complete mental breakdown or anything like that, which is possible. But you know, I'll hopefully let people know when that happens. But if someone else starts doing this and then one day they just say, I'm done, the people can just stop sponsoring you. There's no, it's X amount of dollars a month, right? So all you do is cancel your subscription to the author and call it a day. That's it.
You're not paying for the product. You're
paying. Yes, right. Correct. You're just paying to support the author. Like it's not the product itself, right? And it's sort of, and again, it's like a monthly subscription type deal. So if that ever happens, it's super easy to just cut it and say, yep, there you go. That's it. And there's no like contract. There's no contract involved. Like there is nothing like that. I mean, you don't have to keep paying me. Like it's literally just like a Patreon type deal. So I'm
kind of surprised they didn't just like partner with Patreon.
Yeah, honestly, I think I don't know why they didn't do that. So GitHub does support a lot of so there's a specific file you can put in a repository that allows you to essentially put a link on the top of the repository with a button that indicates like where people can go to support you and donate.
Okay.
And one of those is Patreon.
Okay.
I think GitHub, the reason why they sort of did their own thing is because they wanted something that ties into a lot of their services, especially like with webhooks and stuff like that. So you can get notified via like a HTTP request if someone sponsors you or something like that.
Okay.
So I think that's mainly the motivation. But yeah, going back to your original question, it's more about supporting the author more than the product. You're basically saying, hey, I appreciate the stuff that you're doing. Keep doing it. And if you ever have a mental breakdown, people can just stop sponsoring you.
Or they could give you more money because.
Or they can give you more money if you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's all up to you. I mean, it's legitimately like whatever. It's the most flexible system I can think of, to be honest, when it comes to that kind of stuff. There's no contract. There's nothing there that says you have to keep paying the author. So.
Right, and that way, I mean, because you're not paying for the product, even if somebody wants to fork whatever you've written and get paid for,
correct.
I mean, if they get paid, like.
Yeah, correct.
Not necessarily getting paid for the product. They're getting
Yeah.
paid for whatever else they're contributing to.
Yeah. Now, having said that, like when you do get access to the sponsorware, which is the stuff that's exclusive to sponsors, you can also totally fork that technically. Like there's nothing stopping you. There's no DRM in place on the stuff that I write for sponsors, right?
Right.
There's nothing like that. So if someone wanted to be an asshole about things, like they could totally, get clone the sponsorware and push it up publicly, and there you go. I mean, the stuff that is now public. So it's all based on goodwill, which And
I just feel like if that gets done, like people are gonna find out about it.
Correct. Yeah,
right?
it's very.
Like, it's not.
It's going to be pretty obvious. It's going to be pretty obvious.
Isn't goodwill what open source was built upon, and how did that turn out?
Correct. And again, like I said, this is.
I mean, all software is evil, not just open source.
Look, I'm wearing my devil horns, and I just texted Ms. Berlin on DM here, and I said I feel like a dick because I'm just trying to shoot holes in this, and I don't want to try to shoot holes in it. It sounds like a great idea.
But the thing is, I appreciate it because again, this is an experiment. I have no clue what I'm doing at the end of that. I honestly, I legitimately have zero clue what I'm doing. I'm just seeing what sticks because at the end of the day, I just find this entire system completely, kangaroo court, just completely crazy. So this is just my take on a possible solution. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's the best solution, but after spending 10 to 12, 13 years. I've been doing this since I was 16 in this community. I know this community pretty well. I know what could possibly incentivize companies and the community itself to help work with the authors. So, I mean, I'm more than welcome for suggestions, and I'm especially hoping that people do poke holes in this because I do have to see what's wrong with the model. And no doubt there's probably a lot that's wrong with it. But we'll see,
Legal aspects too. Most people who have jobs probably sign some form that says, well, I'm not going to work two jobs, like one for you and then another one on the side.
Correct.
Right? And this might be considered a second job.
Yeah. I mean, could be. But again, that also comes down to the author itself, right? If you know that's in your contract with your employer of your day job, you have to take that into consideration, right? And that's actually a very good point because I know for a fact that that's actually a thing in that's the actual cause of a lot of people, especially in the blue team side. I'm not exactly why this seems to be especially a huge problem when it comes to defensive stuff.
Yeah, I almost took a DFIR job, and they were super picky. They didn't want me to do this podcast.
Correct.
They didn't want me to do literally anything else.
Yep.
We will pay you, no extra work. I'm like, what? What is that even about?
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand, and it's a hell of a thing too. I'm not exactly sure what gives them the right to do that in the first place. However,
if you pay me enough, sure.
Yeah, I guess.
I could not do anything else for a year if you pay me enough.
Yeah, I guess. But it's just again, but the thing is, most of the projects that those same companies are using are open source projects that are maintained by people that do this on the side, right? So it's just such a weird, vicious feedback loop. I'm not exactly sure what the deal is with this. But yeah, no, I know a number of authors on that side that are basically, I pitched them this and they absolutely love the idea. However, they can't do it because their corporate overlords tell them that you cannot do anything on the side, and or you're using a product in your specific side project that is a competitor to us, so you technically can't because it's sort of like incentivizes things in a wrong way. So yeah.
Yeah, what you would have to do is not develop this product or not put it out there while you're at the job you're at when you develop it.
Yep.
You have to actually have it already. And then when you start a new job, that has to be disclosed and all the lawyers have to get together and they'll say it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what I had to do. I had to have developed the project beforehand, then get a new job and say, okay, I want to disclose that this is already built. It's not part of your company. It's my own creation. And I didn't steal anything from you guys to create it. And you can't claim it just because I was working for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's yeah, exactly right. And there's also like, I had this too, where you can't work on this stuff in your own time. Otherwise it's technically the IP of the company that you work for. They automatically just like, this is mine now, that kind of thing.
And it has happened.
Yep, exactly. It has happened.
Company that likes to do that kind of shit. So.
Yep, correct. Yep.
And,
so
and a fruit company that is somewhat similar to that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a thing, especially in the infosec community. I'm not exactly sure why. So yeah, it's just a number of it's just a number of variables. And again, this is just my take on a possible solution. It really comes down to that.
So what kind of legal hurdles are you looking at? Because you said you want to support widely used open source hacking tools. I'm assuming you're not going to be giving money to Metasploit or to Parrot Linux or Kali Linux, even though you have partnered with the OffSec folks to get vouchers and such for trainings.
Correct.
If you give I don't know, let's say the guy who makes SQL, or the person who makes SQL Map, you give them a couple $1,000s. Wouldn't that require them to potentially have tax issues? Because are you gifting that to them? Are you going to be giving these small mom and pop open source infosec tooling companies advice on how to take your money?
No, absolutely. That absolutely not. That is definitely the domain of whoever's receiving the money. I will definitely. So that's part of the idea. Also, is that I'll be opening up a merch shop, like legitimately just like T-shirts or whatever, with the Porchetta Industry logo on it, and all of the logos of the companies who are currently sponsoring me and Porchetta Industries by.
Is your logo a boar?
It is. Yes, it is a boar.
Good.
It is a boar. Yes, it's a neon green boar. Correct.
Perfect.
Yeah, cyborg boar thing going on. Yeah. So. And so that's, and all of the money from that merch shop will be going directly to these projects. Now, obviously, I'll be asking the individual authors first if it's okay if they want money, basically, because some of them don't. Some of them, like you said, potential tax issues. So there's a lot of stuff to take into consideration. But again, this is just nobody else seems to be doing this, especially in the infosec community. In the developer community, infosec is its own little tiny bubble in the IT ecosystem, right? In the developer community, there is stuff that does this. Like there's open source bounty. There's a bunch of other services that sort of try to fund these widely used projects. In the infosec community, however, there's nothing. There is legitimately nothing. And we're not developers, mostly. We're hackers. So we need a completely different system of doing things, at least in my mind. Again, all my personal opinion. So my idea was merch shop, have people buy the stuff, they get some swag, and all that money gets put to these tools if the author wants them. But again, go to your question. I mean, the tax stuff, that's definitely on them. Like in terms of like doing like the entire tax implication stuff, that's going to be on them. So if they accept the money, they're going to have to they're going to have to come up with some way of doing that.
Just pay them in Bitcoin or something.
Or something. Yeah, we'll.
It's fake money anyway, so you're not losing anything by doing so.
Correct.
I'm just kidding. Not kidding. Okay, so Mr. Betcher, you're a developer. Why did you decide to not go the open source route with regard to LogMD? Why didn't you have at least there's different ways you can do it. You actually have 2 different versions. I think LogMD is actually free, and then you have a pro version, or right. What was the impetus for you to go in that way in the model?
It's the freemium model, what we call it. You have a free version and then a paid version, which has extra features, obviously. We didn't want to open source it because we felt that no one would contribute anyway. So there wouldn't really be any other than, to be fair, it is something you could put on your resume. Oh, did you, I'm the creator of such and such. Oh, okay. So it is a resume builder to have open source software out there if it does become widely used. So that is kind of a form of payment. It helps you get better jobs. But we thought that it wouldn't help us enough to put it out there as open source, right? It has disadvantages, like you don't get featured at DEF CON or something because it's not open source. But I think for us, it was a good choice not to open source it. Just because, like I said, we knew that we wouldn't get very many contributions, if any.
Yeah, that's definitely my experience. And I've been doing this for 10 years. All my projects have been open source. So yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And what's worse, that I don't doubt that people would have taken code from it and copied it into their own. I don't doubt that at all. Yeah. And in fact, I do see things that I have written for LogMD. Someone else has had the same ideas and published, open source code, maybe 1, 2, 3 years after the fact. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the freemium model also works pretty well in terms of open source software and sort of monetizing that as well. Definitely. Absolutely. I guess I wanted to try something completely different. That was the thing. I think I took this opportunity. I was like, okay, it was sort of like all of the pieces coming together, because the GitHub sponsors is now a thing. So that's possible on GitHub. It was the Caleb Porcio article about sponsorware itself. And like all those 2 things combined made me start thinking about, okay, maybe we can do something that's outside of the realm of the standard status quo. Maybe we can actually do something a little bit different. But yeah, worst comes to worst. I mean, hell, the freemium model works pretty good as well.
No, it's cool, and I applaud you for doing something different. Have you? I know you've only put this out for a few days, but do you have any companies that you're talking to work on this freemium model, and how does discussions go in that respect? Because I know you said that there's people who are not nearly as connected as you who
Correct.
may want to do this, and you're going to be helping them with that, but how much help are you actually going to give them? So there was a couple of questions there. What's the discussion when you're talking to that company or that organization with, hey, you're using CrackMap exec, I know because I can see you all pulling my data down and using it. Mm-hmm. Pay me? Or is it like, would you like to pay me? Or what?
So I sort of threw this out on Twitter like last week. And it got a decent amount of attention, and I've had 2 to 3 companies contact me already that are willing to give me training vouchers, including Black Hills, which is the company that I work for. So I'm going to probably be announcing that next week. We're going to be hopefully the idea is we're going to be also giving out 1 training voucher of every Black Hills information security class as well. To contributions. So there's that. There's just a couple other companies that I'm in talks with. They've reached out to me though. Like I haven't actually been sending emails actively to anybody yet. However, It seems that the idea in the model was accepted pretty well. I didn't get any death threats, which is a plus. I didn't get any, looking up, and I didn't get any that kind of thing. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family, that kind of thing. So, I mean, it seems
That's a plus.
Yeah, it's a plus.
Yeah.
It's definitely a plus.
I mean, do you want some? I can like piss off some people.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've had my share over the years. Trust me.
Right.
I don't need any more of that. But yeah, and I didn't get. No, I haven't had a lot of angry nerds sort of busting down my door saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" That kind of thing. I'm not sure if it's because the article that I put out was just really long and nobody read it, or some other reason. I have to still understand, because I was quite frankly expecting a lot of backlash out of this, but it wasn't as much as it wasn't almost anything actually. So there's that. So I haven't actively been reaching out to these companies, but I do plan on doing that. I do plan on actively reaching out to them and saying, hey, I've heard a lot of this stuff I've heard through word of mouth, to be honest, because the GitHub stats, the data that GitHub gives you in terms of like the referral links and stuff, they don't really give you that much in terms of like who's actually cloning the stuff, because there's no way of tracking that. But I'm just through word of mouth, I know a few companies that use this stuff. So I'm definitely going to be, just spamming emails out and seeing who's willing to do this. It's all about backing. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Might also be, sometimes if, asking nicely, shaming also works on Twitter. Hey, company, we know you use our shit. Maybe you, pass the plate.
And it took every bone of my, it's still taking every bone of my body to not do that. I don't want to do it. The thing is, I want this to sort of be, I don't want to shame people. I want this to sort of just be sort of like a culture shift, as opposed to forcing it with like saying, hey, you bastards, come on, like this is ridiculous. Hopefully I can incentivize. The idea is hopefully I get enough backing with big names in the industry that other companies start realizing, hey, this is sort of a trend. Maybe we should jump on board. We should, sort of get with this because it seems to be picking up some steam. And then suddenly you have the entire situation reversed where everything's sustainable. So that's my dream. I'm not sure if it'll become a thing, but that's the dream,
And another dream would be, well, for example, I heard that Cobalt Strike source code has been stolen and released on the dark web.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be nice if, the malwareans and the criminals out there would give a little back to the creators of Cobalt Strike.
Oh, man. I don't know. I don't think that's considering all the ransom.
Really?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Mudge what he thinks about that. But
it's a slippery slope because isn't Mage Card open source now too? So you could get it's an odd way of doing things. But all right. So if I'm an open source developer of hacking tools or just open source in particular, and I'm like, screw this, I want to start getting paid. How would they get a hold of you and work with you to get that started?
Well, you can contact me directly on Twitter. You can also contact Porchetta Industries, which is the Twitter account for the company, which is basically just me. But it's, I guess it's the company thing of it. And then there's also the Discord channel, which is linked in the blog post. And those are pretty much the three main ways I'd recommend communicating. You can also email me at info@porchetta.industries. So there is that as well. If you're interested in, if you're a company listening to this and you actually think this is a somewhat good idea and I'm not just completely out of my mind, and if you're interested in, sort of helping me out with this, you can definitely do that as well. And we can work together and we can see what works. So those are the 3-4 main ways of contacting me to do this.
Awesome. And all those links are in the show notes, Bytebleeder's tweet handle, as well as Porchetta _IND, which is the the handle for that. I did spell it right?
Yeah, you did.
Porchetta.industries.
Yeah.
Apologies.
No, you're fine.
Cool new TLDs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Back in my day, we had .com and we liked it. Anyway, so cool. Appreciate you coming on and talking about this. I think it's very interesting, and I hope that it actually takes off. If you're a company out there that's using open source, pass that plate. You got all this cool VC angel money from Series X fundings. Is maybe you should throw $500-$600 somewhere. It will actually make a bigger difference than your outfitting your sales department. So
correct.
Plus you get a lot of positive work with that. One thing I might suggest, being a nonprofit. As a developer, if you're working and you have a product and you're wanting to make that a thing, you could convince the company to give you a charitable donation. I use quotey fingers when I said that, but you give them they give you a charitable donation for using your product or giving money. I don't know all the legal ramifications of doing that for service or what have you, but that might be another option you might want to investigate. So that's cool. Marcello, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time, and I hope that people will start reaching out to you for this. Plus they can never, some of them who don't talk at conferences or are able to speak or have a huge, following on social media platforms could definitely, use your knowledge and expertise to help out with that. So cool.
Appreciate it.
Right on. Miss Berlin, tell us a little bit about what's going on with you and, any other new tabletop exercises or anything coming up soon?
I need to take a break to move.
What? You can't do that and move and
no.
Your house?
No. So I'm literally not doing anything until January, but we're still doing cool things at Blue Mirror, and I'm working there like crazy, and hiring more people. And
still need a back-end developer, or
we need all the developers. Yes. It would be, we just hired 4 new people.
Damn.
I think. And we're placing another 3 or 4, and then I think starting Series A in January.
Ooh.
So, yay.
Get them sweet stock options, y'all.
I already got mine, but I'm going to hopefully get more.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Mr. Betcher, how about you? What are you doing? How's LogMD going? I know we talked a little bit about it during the show, but you've got new stuff coming out for it?
Yeah, it's being field tested, like real world stuff.
Okay.
I've heard really good things that, it does things that no other product does. So yeah, check it out. log-md.com.
Right on. Cool. So one of our slackers, I think it was Shecky, sent me a link about an online CTF that's happening on December 12th. It's Cisco's workshop platform. They're doing an online kids CTF. There's you go to the link in our show notes. There's a Discord chat you can get on. People will be there to ask questions about information security from, for kids, what careers like. They also have a CTF that they did similarly in spring of 2020. Go and, if you've got kids who are interested in doing what their parents do, feel free to check that out. Hacks, HAK4 kids, KIDZ, the number 4. So it's hacks4kids.com. It's in the link. It's in the show notes. I haven't done this in a few weeks. I'm old, and it's getting out there. So
that's all right.
So we have a Patreon, much like Marcello. We like to see people show us that we're doing good works and help us out with that. We call it our tip jar. So if you are interested in joining us, and you got good experience and good knowledge out of this, maybe you're a company that uses something like Crack Map Exec, and you're like, oh, well, maybe we should support them. $1 for us is more than enough to support the podcast. As a matter of fact, Robert M., one of our Patreon supporters, upped his to $5. So every month we get $5 from him. as a thank you. So the podcast is always free. We're very much an open source project ourselves, but we do appreciate the tips and the help for Zoom meeting calls, for libsyn hosting, for Gmail and G Drive support, pay storage, and whatever, and just time and effort building out our hugely successful Slack community, which is another thing that you can join by helping out and listening to the show. We have a Slack, like I said. We've got 2,500 odd people in there, not active. I think it's roughly about 400 to 500 active on a regular basis. We have a no politics clause. We have a social contract, rules of engagement and responsibility, if you will. If you're interested in joining that, you can email us at bds.podcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a Twitter DM or a Twitter fleet, whatever the hell that thing is now. I don't even know what that is. I don't laugh at that. I'm old. I don't know what a fleet is. Well, I know what a fleet is, but it's a bunch of ships in the ocean. Anyway.
Yeah,
I don't get it. Anyway, so if you're interested, hit us up on Twitter DM on that. We have a lot of different channels. We have a job board. We have a career advice channel, so you can do CV review. So if your resume is looking a little rough, hasn't been updated in about 10 years, we can help you work on formatting. We can help you, understand where you're missing, what job you'd like to have versus the job you have now, so you can write your resume to kind of, be for the job you want, not the job you have. A lot of extra stuff going on there, and we are moderated, so very noob friendly because we're all noobs here. And come and join us. So, let me see. We still have a TPub store. I need to do something with that. We need to get some masks or some t-shirts or coffee mugs or something. You can get one with our logo on. You can get a t-shirt if you'd like. I was going to look and see if they have things like pins or, decals or something like that, or patches that you could put on, gloves or, jackets or whatever, just see what TPub has. But, you can get pretty much anything with our logo on it. So if you want to support the show that way too, that's always possible as well. But I think that's it for this week. One last thing. Apparently, we're number 1 on the top 25 data podcasts you should follow in 2020. I don't know how that happened. I didn't pay them, I swear. Feedspot.com. They emailed us and said, hey,
but you know how you are paying them.
How am I paying them?
In free advertisement.
Oh, shit. I don't know what they do.
Exactly. Nobody else does either, but they're going to visit their website.
You're going to be number 1 for them for a very long time after this. For at least a few years.
Yeah, I don't understand. It says improve your outreach by connecting with authority bloggers in your domain area. Yeah, it's like data security podcast. I was like, I didn't know we were a data security podcast, but I mean, we're like higher up than like risky business or data.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't
know
half these podcasts. That just shows how poor I am. But I mean, Security Now is number 6. We're like we're better than they are, which is odd. But yeah, I don't know.
We're more entertaining.
Are we? I've never listened.
I don't know.
So
I don't listen to us either.
Oh God! It's like a kick in the pills.
It's all right. I'm on beer number 3. We can just keep going.
It's a delayed reaction. Okay. Well, all right. So we've already gone over, but I appreciate everybody for coming on. We're done for this week. Have a great week. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Had a great Thursday if you don't live in the U.S. Take care of yourself because you're the only you have. Be kind to one another. Things are hopefully looking up in that arena in the world, and try to stay socially distanced if you can. And we'll talk to you again real soon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.